Before proceeding, it is important to distinguish between Selenium, Webdriver, and a Webdriver manager. Firstly, we shall begin with the definition of a Webdriver. A Webdriver is an interface API, or in simple words, a tool used for testing web applications across different browsers using different programming languages. All browsers have their specific WebDrivers for the purpose of automation. Firefox browser is bundled with Gecko driver, Chrome browser comes with Chrome driver, Edge browser has Edge Chromium driver, Opera browser uses the Opera driver, and there is IE driver for Internet Explorer browser. WebDriver drives a browser natively as a user would, either locally or on a remote machine using Selenium. Selenium on its own is also a WebDriver which makes direct calls to the browser using each browser's native WebDriver implementation. The native browser WebDrivers are tightly coupled to the browser to give a better testing experience. Example, the Chrome driver launches Google Chrome browser and manages automation on Google Chrome. Without that, it would be impossible to run Selenium test scripts in Google Chrome, as well as automate any Chrome web application. Now, from the previous illustration, we will have Selenium client library communicate with the browser WebDriver, which in turn communicates with the browser engine. Communication does not necessarily happen via the user interface, as we could launch a headless version of the browser which has no interface and still execute Selenium scripts. Selenium client library consists of languages like Java, Ruby, Python, C#, and so on. After the test cases are triggered, the entire Selenium code will be converted to JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It takes up the task of transferring information between 2 points, in this case from the Selenium client library and the browser WebDriver. As discussed, each browser has a specific browser driver. A browser driver interacts with its respective browser and executes commands by interpreting JSON which they receive from the browser. As soon as the browser driver gets any instructions, they run them on the browser. Then the response is given back in the form of HTTP response.